Hello, everybody. Hello. My name is Nelson Gonzalez. I'm a product lead in Google Cloud. Specifically, I'm a lead in our generative media business within Google Cloud. And I'm pleased to meet you all today. And together with me, I also have Zack Akil, my colleague Zack Akil from our developers relations team, who is going to take us to some really exciting demos in this session today. Now, for today, we wanted to first talk about creativity, right? AI-enabled creativity, so that's a brief introduction. Then we want to talk about Imagine on Vertex AI and how it links into creativity. And then, there's many developers in the room, so we also want to cover some useful assets to get you started with creativity, with generating images, other media assets, videos, etc., with Vertex Imagine and the overall Vertex Generative AI portfolio. So let's start with creativity, right? There's a lot of discussion at Google I/O this year about AI. And you may ask yourself, is creativity something, human creativity, something that will be relevant, right? With all these exciting announcements, we heard Demis yesterday talk about the new VO tool. You heard also an announcement about Imagine 3. And the question is, are humans relevant still for creativity? Has creativity left the chat? Our view is that the answer is a clear yes. We almost view generative AI as an advance similar to the creation of photography, right? Where people, photography came in as an innovation, and people were wondering, well, how is photography going to impact creators? And we've seen every subsequent technology, photography, advent of videos, movies, about really not putting barriers on creativity, but really turbocharging creativity. Now, AI, we believe, is lowering the barrier for creation. It helps you define the problem or the opportunity. So we've seen often this Bermuda Triangle of creativity, where people have a concept, then you prepare for a meeting, right? You create assets to describe your concept, then you have a meeting, and then it sort of like repeats itself until you arrive at a concept. The power with generative AI is that we believe that that cycle can be shortened, right? And for the creators, they can actually create assets in a very fast way and with translate their ideas into assets in creative ways. Now, all these tools are very available, easily available to enable you to really understand what you want to see and what you don't want to see, right? They enable fast exploration, right? You can test many concepts, and you don't need to do a photo shoot, right? And you can, but you can just go from concept in your mind to creating the asset in a very fast way. And also, AI and this generative AI that we offer in particular enables your team to scale, right? So these concepts are available through APIs that are very scalable, right? So once you get the concept, you get the idea, you test the concept, you prototype it, you can actually integrate these APIs into your systems to achieve the scale, right? So all that, we believe, right, really makes the case for AI not being a barrier, but really enabling creators to accelerate and to do better with their creativity. So with that content, I want to talk about Imagine 2, right? So Imagine 2 is Google Cloud's product suite, product family for the creation of images, live images. A number of different capabilities exist within Imagen 2. Imagen 2 was announced just a month ago, and you can see that we're iterating really fast. A month ago, we introduced Imagen 2 with generation. So generation basically begins with a concept in your mind, and it translates that concept, typically text, natural language, into an image, right? So as you can see in that image, we have a close-up photo of somebody climbing a mountain, right? And that generation enables that capability from idea in your mind to an image. But we also know that our customers and creators in general sometimes want to begin not with a concept, but they already have image assets. So that's why we also launch editing capabilities within Imagen. They are part of our customization portfolio. So this enables application developers to leverage your own image assets and take those image assets and develop a new creation, right? And we have multiple editing features available within Imagen editing. There are 4 editing modes, and we'll go into more detail, and Zack will show some great demos about those editing capabilities. We also have a feature called Live Image, and this Live Image feature enables you to start from a concept and to create what we call a live image, which is kind of like a 4-second visualization of that concept, as you can see on this dish. Now, at this point, I'd like to invite Zack, who is going to put these ideas into practice.
Well, thank you. You're going to stay here? All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Zack Akil. I'm a developer advocate for cloud machine learning, and I'm going to show you some of the features that Nelson has just talked about that are in Imagen. It's Imagen. So, we talked about image generation, so we've got that. Let's test that out here. So I'm going to have to write a prompt. We're in Mountain View, and it seems we like to use mountains as things, so I'm going to try to do a scene. So let's go a mountain with a nice sunset in the background. And my spelling is terrible, but what's nice is we don't need spelling anymore because we have AI. So this is going to take our prompt, and it's within a couple of seconds going to give me a couple of examples based on the prompt that I've typed. And here we go. So we've got our example images with image generation. Yay. All right, yeah. Well, let's take it a bit further. So Nelson mentioned some of the editing capabilities. So let's say I like this image, but I want to maybe make it wider. Now, on that, we already are able to natively create different aspect ratios as well. So I can show some of that. So let's say we know we want to create images that are more custom for our different social media platforms. So let's say I want to create like something that's a banner. Well, if I'm just creating an image from scratch, I could do that as well. So I can rerun my prompt, but have it output a different aspect ratio. And this is when you're generating images from scratch. But I'm also going to show you how we can start with an image and then make it a different aspect ratio. But here is, if we're starting from, oh, that's a bit of a cheat on the top left, but we'll ignore that. But our other ones, those are proper aspect ratios of these images. But let's say this is a cool image, but I want to, maybe I started with this image. Maybe this is an image I've actually uploaded, and I want to then extend it. We call that, is it in-painting or out-painting?
Out-painting.
Out-painting. So we would do outpaint, and we can extend it. So this is kind of fun, especially if you've got a scene as an image, and you want to kind of, oh, what would this scene look like if it was extended? So let's say, let's make it tall. And then we can use some of the tools in the UI to recenter our image. But this UI is meant to kind of experiment and play with. Everything I'm doing here, there are APIs for, and you can do this pragmatically in code to build this into your applications. So let's say this is a cool scene, but I want to see what it looks like when it's extended like this. So all I have to do is set that, and then hit generate. And again, the UI in the console is there to kind of experiment and play with and prototype with. I don't think it's not really expected to use this on your day-to-day, but it's more like you take what this can do and build it into your applications using the SDKs in whichever language you're comfortable in. And in fact, here we go. Oh, it's put people in it now. So we've got, oh, that's an interesting. Is that possible? But it looks cool. This one looks really cool. So yeah, we can imagine the scene spread out. And what I just did with the outpainting, we have a more granular way of doing for maybe individual elements. So I'm going to really push the boat out and draw a boat. So let's say I want to put a boat on this thing. So let's describe this. So I'm going to say a rowing boat on a lake. Here we go. Live generative AI. What can go wrong? So we're going to run this, and we'll see, hopefully, after a couple of seconds. And it's kind of interesting is this is a very high-resolution image as well. We've already taken an original image, extended it. It hasn't compressed the original image. It's actually extended the resolution, so you don't lose detail whenever you do outpainting. So one thing I've noticed, in my curiosity, I just kept outpainting an image to be wider and wider. And here we go. We've got a rowboat once, which is fine. I'm going to take that as a win. We got a rowboat and a win. Yay. So what I've shown editing in the console, in the UI. That's all fun and games. But I also want to show you how I've actually implemented this in basically production. So has anybody used or done the AI penalty challenge today or yesterday at I/O? Have we got anyone who's done it yet? Nobody. Okay, quite a lot of people have done it. It is over in the AI sandbox. What it is a end-to-end sort of AI experience powered by Google Cloud. Part of the experience, you go up, you take some kicks, and after you've taken your kicks, you get analysis done by Gemini, multimodal, all this cool stuff. But then you also get the opportunity to build your own player profile cards. So if anyone's ever had baseball cards or football cards or soccer cards, you get your picture and you get some stats. But what we have is we have our Imagine editing. So here is me yesterday testing it out. And I can take a photo. And I have here a selection of prompts. And some of my favorite are Angel and Heroic, but I think I'm going to go Angel. So this is going to run Imagine with this prompt on the right-hand side, and to call it is just this code on the left. So we've got a bit of Python code to say, here's our image, re-edit it using this prompt, and we end up with this. So this is now this is in production. We have generated already hundreds of cards at I/O, and we've got this same experience deployed all over the world at different events. So we've actually used this exact pipeline to generate thousands of cards for different players. So this is an example of how you can use this kind of image generation tool more than just a single action by an individual user, but actually how you can deploy it into a full pipeline to run at scale in production. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Nelson to tell you more about the features in Imagine. Nelson.
Thank you, Zack.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
I'm going to go back down.
Yeah, I would say this kick demo was really interesting. I got the first one really well, and then it went downhill. But I sensed that Demis, I saw some pictures of Demis doing kicks. It's super interesting. So I encourage you to stop by and get your own. At the end, you get a card with your picture edited by Imagine. So it's super interesting. So for generation, wanted to highlight a few things, right? We talked to many creators, many customers, and a key requirement is photorealism, right? Images that are photorealistic, especially photorealistic with people, right? And Vertex Imagine offers that. We're excited about Imagine 2. Announcements made yesterday about Imagine 3, which is coming very soon, are going to be even greater in terms of the capabilities you can have with photorealistic images. Not only photorealistic images with one person, but sometimes you want to create images that show lifestyles, a group of friends, or a group of people working at a business, or I was talking to a customer this morning and they wanted to create images for a group of a family moving boxes, right? So typically, those images with many people are challenging, and with Imagine, you'll see that there's a lot of great quality and effort the team made to emphasize photorealistic images that are credible, right? Also, we see many use cases in advertising where the ability to add text is very important, right? As you can see in this example with the hamburger. And again, we're iterating very fast. You will see you can generate text with Imagine 2. It will continue to expand with Imagine 3 as well. And then there are many use cases, right? Another key use case we see often is creators generating images that are for a specific purpose. And this is just one example. This is creating an image for a logo of a business, or it could be a logo of your local sports team for your kids. So the cases are countless. You know, there's so many really use cases for image creation with Imagine. So that's generation. A key thing, as Zack mentioned earlier, is aspect ratios. So we know that, one square images are very good, but we know that, you know, I see many of you with mobile phones, right? 9:16 aspect ratio is really key for mobile phones. And anybody that has a big screen TV, the 16:9 is also a very important aspect ratio. So we support those aspect ratios, also the 3:4 and the 4:3 aspect ratio, all integrated with all the Imagine features, and we really make it really simple to do this. Obviously, I wanted to point out that it was very important for us in this Imagine session to have a cat image. We try to accomplish that in every session, so there you have it, it's a cat image. Well, now at this point, I'm gonna invite Zack for a bit more showcases and demos, so welcome back, Zack.
I'm back. So it's going to be more and more image generation. All right, so we're going to switch back to this. I may have been presumptuous and showed the demos that I was going to show for this section now, but let's show some more of the different ratios that we have. So we showed the outpainting. Here's something I didn't show and I can show right now. We also have effectively the Magic Eraser now as an API. So how many people are familiar with Magic Eraser on Pixel? Yeah, you can do that. So now we can do that with Imagine within its SDK. So let's say I started with this image of a boat, and I now didn't want a boat. What I can do is let's say I can use a box or a brush, and I can select it, select the box, go over and say this, I don't want this anymore, and generate. So this is how we do it in the UI. However, there's an SDK to do exactly this, where if you can locate the object pragmatically, you can run an API to remove the object from the image. And this, after it runs, again, the resolution of this image is huge, and it's still able to feed this into the model. And I think for those who've worked in machine learning or data science, like pre-generative AI, dealing with high-resolution images with models is a real pain. But now, because of the APIs, regardless of the image resolution, that's no longer a thing you need to consider as a programmer. You send in any image resolution, provided it fits within the image size constraint, which is pretty generous, and it should be able to run its process. So on this one, it's generated these images. So these are new images without the boat. So I gave the boat, and I took away the boat. So that is how we do the Magic Eraser now in Imagine. And that's that. Welcome back, Nelson, for more features. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Zack. Okay, excellent. So we're in the creation of generative AI assets. Google believes that it's really important to designate those assets as being generated by AI, and in this case, generated by Imagen specifically. Now, we know that there are options available to tag assets. For example, there's multiple options available to tag assets with what we call metadata, right? And you can assign that metadata to the AI-generated image. But the issue with some of those techniques is that the metadata can be extracted, right? So in this situation, we found the opportunity to enable our customers to not only generate the asset, but also to include an invisible digital watermark. Now, when I say invisible, it's really invisible. We have shown users, like humans, the image on the left or the image on the right. Again, the image on the left is an AI-generated image, not watermark. The image on the right, you cannot see it, but it includes a watermark. And in tests that our Google DeepMind team and our cloud team have done with humans, you cannot tell the difference, right? So this is truly invisible. It's like a 50-50 coin toss, right? And that's important because it protects the quality of the image, but at the same time, it gives you the ability to determine the provenance of the image and determine that the image was generated by AI. And this is important because we enable our customers, whether you created the image or not, we provide a verification service where you can submit an image and you will get a response from us to tell you whether the image was generated by Imagen or not. Now, this watermark is based on Google DeepMind technology. We call it the SynthID technology. And it is available. It's available within the Imagen, so we make it really simple. And it's available by default on. But we also give developers the option to remove it in case their use case does not require a watermark. But it's available by default on both the digital watermark, and if you have access to Imagen, you also have access to the verification. So let's talk about this watermark in more detail. So Zack is going to put it into practice again.
Right, hello again. So what we're going to do is, this is my personal favorite demo to do with Imagen. When I first learned about the digital watermark, the first thing I tried to do was break it. So that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how I attempted to break it. So we've got here images, and as Nelson said, by default now, you have this digital watermark on all images generated with Imagen, but you can disable them if you don't want the watermark. But why would you do that? So what's nice is this image, for example, that I just created, you can see in the UI, it's got a little tag at the top that says digital watermark. So if I were to export this image and hope it goes somewhere on my local machine, I can then go into verify and upload the same image. So let's quickly, you know what, instead of me hunting through my download files, because I'm not 100% what's all in there, I'm going to show you an image that I previously generated using the digital watermark. And I believe, you know what, let's jump into my download files real quick. There it is. So I upload the photo that I just generated with a digital watermark. And it is high-resolution image, but it has detected, digital watermark detected. That's pretty cool. But if I were to try to break this, the first thing, like it's the first time anyone ever saw like an NFT. Remember those like images that have value? The first thing I'm like, oh, this image has value. Why don't I screenshot it? Then what's going to happen? Oh, there's a digital watermark here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to screenshot it. So let's go back to my generated images. And I can pick, say, this one? This one has a digital watermark, you said, Nelson?
It does, by default.
Does? Okay, by default, he says. So I'm just going to take this without the digital watermark, I think. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. And maybe before, I'm also going to verify that this thing is not always just saying there's a watermark there. So I've got some photos. A selfie test. Great. No watermark there. But let's check let's reset this, upload a new image. I'm going to go back to my documents, go to my screenshots. So this is a screenshot I just took. I just took this screenshot of the image that has a invisible watermark. And it still detects the watermark. Pretty cool. So it's invisible and it's beyond just some like metadata. It's actually embedded into the visual, invisibly aspect of the image. So it's truly like really cool piece of technology, and it can remain in there with modification to the image. So very powerful, very cool. I'm going to welcome Nelson back to talk about some developer tools that you can get you started with Imagen right now.
Thank you, Zack. All right, excellent. So we talked a lot about generation. Now let's talk about editing, right? Editing, again, part of customization capabilities available with Imagen. And with editing, we have 4 key editing modes available, right? And for example, if you see the image now, you can see the backpacker with the red backpack. So you can remove things. You can add elements, right? And as you can see here, you can do outpainting, right? So in Paint, remove what we just showed with the person wearing the red backpack. In Paint, insert out in the mountain, and the outpainting. Now, there's one more editing mode that we spend a lot of effort optimizing, and is specifically optimized for images of products, right? Because for images of products, we want to make sure that we saw a need with customers wanting to show the product in a better way. So the typical product image in many e-commerce websites is the product with a white background, right? But we know from our Google Shopping team and many customers that images of products that have a more compelling background, they generate more clicks, they're more compelling to the users, it's just a better experience. So what we did with product image editing is to optimize this feature for this particular use case. So it takes a product, it can be any product, it can be a piece of furniture, it could be a water bottle, etc. And it enables you to provide a prompt describing the product and the background, and the feature enables you to generate the image maintaining the product appearance of the product, but changing the background. But to do it in a way that is natural, right? So you want to ensure that shadows make sense, right? So when you describe the lighting, that the product shadow makes sense. So that's the 4th feature. Now, these editing features enable you as a developer to provide the original image you want to edit and to provide a mask area to indicate the area that you want to change. But we also heard from developers that wanted a simple experience, right? If you just want to change the background of the image, or you want to change the prominent object in the image, right? We wanted a simple way to help you do editing by Google providing the mask. So we give you 2 options. You can either call the API with the mask, or you can call the API and tell us, I want to edit the background, and you can say background, or you can say foreground, and there are close to 200 labels in an image that you can actually mask automatically, and we provide the mask. So we make it really simple that way. Now, we will now talk about some developer resources, right? So we've been talking about generation, we've been talking about editing, but we know that often we see our customers come to us with some use cases that are very common, right? Like the one I just discussed, product image editing. So we're investing, actually just recently, we updated the whole documentation for Imagen. So we have different guides, you can find the guides. We have an API reference. We have code samples as well. But we also recently launched some new developer assets. And obviously, I wanted to point out that for our Google Cloud generative AI portfolio and other models, whether those models are created by Google or third-party models or open source models, a key place where you can find all these assets is in the model garden, right? So Vertex AI, the key platform for data scientists, for application developers, we make it really simple to go to one place and find models in different modalities, right? Find models based on task, find all sorts of models. Obviously, you will find the models, as you can see here, you will find Gemini, Imagen, Gemma, which has been open sourced. You will find Chirp for speech to text. But there's hundreds of models available in the model garden. Now, within those models, you'll be able to see assets for helping you either access the model because it's an API, like Imagen, or notebooks if the model, you need to deploy the model in your environment. All that is available there. But in addition to that, again, as I said earlier, we know that there are use cases that are very specific to certain business scenarios, right? And that's another area that we wanted to highlight, and we have some example use cases to share with you. So with that, let me turn it over to Zack for that showcase.
Here we go. So this is the final demo.
Yes, final demo.
Here we go.
Fantastic.
We're not going to go back and forth again.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Lots of demos today. So.
This is it. So what I'm going to show some of the things we're working on. These are called, what we call these the accelerators.
Yes.
We call them accelerators. They're like sample code, but we like to call them accelerators. And what they are, they're specific curated pieces of sample code to help you in specific use cases. So in this case, a really common use case that we see with Imagen is retail. So product images. People want to create new images of the product without having to take their product back to a studio or even take it to a studio in the first place. And what we've done is we've created these notebooks. We've put them immediately on the Google Cloud Generative AI repo. However, as Nelson was saying, they're going to be in Model Garden, where you can find them there as well. And let's go through one of these notebooks. So the one that Nelson was just mentioning is around the product image editing. And we have a notebook here. It's called Image Background Generation. And in this notebook, it walks you through, step by step, the Python code to take an original image. So in this case, I think we've got, well, it hasn't been run yet, but there is an example image there of a suitcase, and it generates a new background of a suitcase. That's all cool, but I want to show you what I did with it today using a product that you all should be familiar with, and that is the I/O water bottle. Who has the I/O water bottle with them? Can we show it? Can we hold it on up? For the people you've got in the back, everyone's got it. Okay, you've seen this product. Actually, for people watching at home, could I hold one up to the camera? So people, oh, thank you very much. I'm gonna reach over. So this is it to the people who are watching. This is the beautiful I/O water bottle. Look at that. I'll hand that back to you. Thank you very much. So that is the beautiful I/O water bottle. And, you know, I never saw like a product page about it. So with the power of this notebook that is publicly accessible right now, I was able to put in the image of the I/O water bottle. This is the floor of my hotel. Not the most, product flashy image, but with the code we provided, you enter in a simple product description. In this case, we're saying a reusable water bottle from Google I/O. You provide a description in the prompt of the kind of, we're doing this kind of cool thing where we're chaining our AI models. So we're actually using Gemini multimodal, so Gemini 1.5 Pro, to look at the image and follow the prompt, which is asking Gemini to say, come up with a good image generation prompt. And this is a sort of hot tip for people who are getting started using image generation, and that is a really good way to come up with good image generation prompts is to use like generative AI. because a nice, long, detailed prompt is how you get usually the best results, and no one wants to write all that out, so why not ask Gemini, come up with my image generation prompt, and this is exactly what this notebook does. So it came up with, oh, this is the new prompt here, I'll read it out. A white reusable water bottle with Google I/O logo standing on a lush green grass with mountains in the background and a clear blue sky. So this is what Gemini has come up with and says, this should be a good prompt to use if you want to make this a better sort of product photo. And we fed that into Imagen and asked it to do its product image editing. So this is how you enable that specific mode. So this is all the same stuff you can do in the console when you're playing around, but if you want to run it pragmatically in your pipelines, you can enable it like this. And the output, I think, is much more tantalizing than my hotel room floor. If the page, there we go. So it's generated this without me having to go to the mountains. You know, who wants to go to mountains to take photos of water bottles? Not me, but I don't have to. So we've got this. And yeah, this is the notebook, and this is all accessible right now. In fact, if we want to switch back to the slides and click one more, this is the QR code if you want to immediately get access to those notebooks right now and play with the product accelerators. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Nelson to close out the talk. I'll stay on stage.
Fantastic. Yep, that was excellent demo. Thank you, Zack. That's great. Yeah, so in closing, right, as a recap, wanted to emphasize we're really excited about all the innovation. Like every day, you know, I meet developers, I meet customers, and it's super exciting to see all the creativity that is being accelerated with generative AI and Imagen in particular. I hope that this brief introduction to Imagen was useful to you. And again, we have developer resources available it really makes it really simple to get started. And equally important, we're really excited about what's ahead. You know, this Imagen journey started just over a year ago with Imagen, the first version. Imagen 2 was announced in December. We launched it in December. And we have Imagen 3 that was announced today. You can find it in Image Effects. But I know that many of you want access through an API. So it's coming to Vertex AI very soon. So we're really excited. And you know, there's a good future ahead for everybody in terms of creativity. So thank you for your time. And look forward to the next. Thank you. Thank you.